Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another JVS movie review. Today, we are bringing you the finale of Daniel Craig's James Bond saga. This one is called No Time to Kill, and here's a synopsis, and then we'll get into cast and everything else here. Recruited to rescue a kidnapped scientist, globe-trotting spy James Bond finds himself hot on the trail of a mysterious villain who's armed with a dangerous new technology. Now, this stars, of course, Daniel Craig as James Bond, Rami Malek, Leah Seydoux, Lashonda Lynch, and is directed by Mr. Cary Fukunaga, who the last time I saw him do, I think the last film he directed was Beast of No Nation, if you remember that and remember how amazing that film was. First thoughts for me for this one is this is an emotionally driven James Bond movie. And I don't think we've ever seen the emotion ramped up in No Time to Die as we, maybe Skyfall is close to the emotion, but even Skyfall's emotion doesn't really reach the levels of emotion they pull off in No Time to Die. Even from the opening scenes of the film, as we're reintroduced to James Bond, we're reintroduced to the love of his life, played by Leah Seydoux, who, if you recall, she's the same love interest from him from Spectre. So when we're introduced to her and him again on the countryside, and it's apparent that James Bond has retired at this point, and he needs to get over a loss that happened with him, and that loss happens to be his love interest from Casino Royale. Again, that's the way the same way Spectre did, it completely ties together all of Daniel Craig's films in this series. So as he's trying to get over that, and he visits a particular place where this person remains are laid to rest, is when the action kicks off for this movie. And when the action kicks off for this movie, it really never lets up. While it is quiet moments in this film, it is really good quiet moments in this film, especially between Leah and Daniel and their relationship in this film. It is really an action-packed spectacle. Like, this is what $250 million look like. This film is beautiful. It is shot amazingly well. And for Cary, who again, Beast of No Nation really didn't have much action in it, he pulls off some of the best action scenes that I've seen in a Bond movie, especially in the Daniel Craig Bond movies. It's a realism to this action, unlike in Spectre at times where it felt a tad cartoonish. And same thing with Skyfall, where it just felt over the top. This one brought it back to the realism of a Casino Royale as it pertains to the action beats in this film. And again, they're shot so well that you get captivated by them. Now, as it pertains to the supporting cast here, everyone is still here that you know of in the James Bond universe. The latest addition is Miss Lynch, who is introduced as the new 007. Unfortunately, in this film, they don't give her enough to do. Like, when you hype up in a film that we're going to have a new 007, and this is part of your huge marketing, is that we have a new 007, and you don't do much with her in the film, it leaves you wondering, like, well, what was the point of even hyping that up if you weren't really going to use her? And that's what it feels like in this film. It feels like she's a supporting character that feels wasted. That's the best way to put it. Like, this story, as well as it should have been, is so James Bond heavy that introducing a new 007 just felt unnecessary. In all honesty, she could have been a double anything. She didn't need to be a 007 to make it. For the plot of the film, it really doesn't matter if she's a 007, and that's the problem here. Because again, you hype that to the point where it should have mattered more in the film. But her performance, great. The action beats we get from her are great. It's another actress who is only in it for one scene. I won't mention it because I want everyone to see this one scene. Amazing. Literally amazing. If I could have gotten more of her in the film and more of Ms. Lynch in the film, I think this could have been the greatest James Bond film ever, along with the emotional beats, along with Daniel Craig pulling off what I think is his best performance as James Bond. Because as we get on in this film, and this film is long, by the way, it is extremely long, maybe 20 minutes too long here. So it's a long film, but because of the action and emotional beats, you kind of understand why it needs to be this long, but you still could have trimmed 20 minutes off of it and it wouldn't have, I don't think, affected the film overall. But again, from Daniel Craig's performance, this is his best performance as Bond, because we see an aged Bond. We see a tired Bond. We see someone who's been through everything. And his reaction to things, because he's been through everything, is what makes this movie really good. Because if we would have gotten the Pierce Brosnan from his last film of Bond, even the Sean Connery for his last film of Bond, I think this movie could have been bad. But instead, with an actor the caliber of Daniel Craig and him pulling off this performance of James Bond, it really captivates you. It really locks you in. Because again, while there's a lot of action, it is an emotional driven film that a lot depends on James Bond's emotion and not necessarily everyone else's around him emotion. While the plot is kind of confusing, it's a lot of innuendos, hidden secrets, things of this nature involved in it. Rami Malek as the main villain of it, not the best Bond villain here. The return of Christopher Waltz was, dare I say, even in the scenes that he's in, maybe better than Remy's entire performance in his film as the main villain. So because of that in the plot, you kind of wonder, like, wow, you're respecting this grandiose end to Bond. Instead, what you got was a direct James Bond film, which, again, that could rub some people the wrong way. It rubbed me the correct way because that's what I wanted. I didn't need a grand finale of everything has to end because of Bond. Instead, here you get a James Bond story with the flaws that at times you expect from a James Bond story, but what you get is an amazing performance from Daniel Craig as James Bond. And that is the key part and the element of this movie. In the end, for this to be his swan song, this is the film that, if you love James Bond, I think this is the film that you would have wanted for Daniel Craig's version of Bond to end on. Like, it ties it together extremely well. I think that's one thing. Unlike past Bond series with actors, it never felt tied in. Every film felt separate. For this, they've done a great job of connecting everything, from Quantum of Solace, which most people did not like, but it being a literally direct sequel of Casino Royale, which we had never seen before. Then we got Skyfall, and Skyfall kind of felt like it was out of nowhere, even though it was connected to the other two films. It kind of felt like it was out of nowhere. And then you get Spectre, which tied everything in together, and you fully understood why the progression of this character happened. And then by the time we get to this film, No Time to Die, it's okay. Like, this is James Bond. And I think that is the key element of this film. You're going to leave it saying, this is James Bond. This is the Daniel Craig version of James Bond. This is the James Bond for the new generation. The group of people who didn't want the overly suave version that the past James Bonds gave you, while at the same time, especially in these last two films, even if you did not like Spectre, even in these last two films are very close to classic James Bond films, meaning in tone, in delivery, everything of that nature. They're like classically James Bond films. It's just that No Time to Die capitalizes and corrects most of the flaws that you got from Spectre. And that's what makes this movie pretty good. So, No Time to Die, opening up October the 8th, I want to say. Yes, it opens October the 8th in theaters only. It's kind of opening. The only reason I'm pausing because it opens up worldwide on the 30th, which is Thursday, I think. Somewhere in there, it opens up worldwide on the 30th, if I'm not mistaken. But it opens up in the U.S. on October 8th. Out of a possible 10, I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. This is a really good James Bond movie. And in the hierarchy of Daniel Craig James Bond's movies, for me, this is right below Casino Royale. Casino Royale is the perfect James Bond film from anybody. I think this is right below it because I'm still of the mindset that Skyfall, as much as I love it, as much as I loved Javier Bardem's performance in it, it is not a James Bond movie. That is a completely different movie with the character of James Bond being put into it. This is a Bond movie, and a really, really good Bond movie. This is a almost perfect ending to Daniel Craig's movies. So check it out when it comes to theaters. Let us know what you think of it. This has been another JVS movie review. Peace, people.